Hello, friends. Teardrops on My Pillow by the You Know It, You Love 'Em, Dum Dum Girls. Knock, knock. Who's there? Canna. Canna who? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on KRFF 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org. We're streaming everywhere on this blue and green marble. And we can get into your ear hole, and we love to do it. Audibly, you can't hide from us. You can't hide from Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis, general cannabis, legalization news, medical cannabis. If cannabis is involved, we're going to mention it. We open a big fat bag of cannabis news at 4:20, so stay around for that. The weather's great. If you're in the upper Midwest, you're loving it. You're probably in tank tops, you big fatty. Keep your shirt on. That's none of my business. We love you. I love everybody. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit, and I show him props every Sunday. 417 Main Avenue, Antioch Church. It's a Pentecostal church, so we jump up and down and stuff, you know, and I hit the drums pretty hard for the Lord. So come on through. We do a 10 a.m. recovery class. If you've got a monkey on your back, or if you've knocked the said monkey off your back, but you can feel that little banana eater pulling on your pant leg, we know somebody upstairs that can help you. All right. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,200 mgs of locally grown CBD. Slapped, whipped, flipped, and flapped into a little tubby tub to put on your outer body. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. This show, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Before me, in the morning, you've got Country with Trav, and that's every day, Monday through Friday. You need your country in. You know, you got the cord wrapped around, but you got no country to stick in your blood. In the mornings with Trav, KRFF. Do it. After me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, and we got Mixtape, then we got Artemis Blood Shrine. Wraps up your Thursday. Now, there are other days in the week, so make sure you tap in on those days as well. Again, you're listening to Radio Free Fargo, 95.9 KRFF LP Community Radio. You a business owner? You a manager? Nonprofit organizations? Considering advertising? Why not learn what underwriting is on a nonprofit community radio station instead? To learn more about what underwriting is, please contact us at our website, www.radiofreefargo.org, or at our profile on Facebook. Why not let listeners know that you support a community by supporting a community radio station like this one? This one being 95.9. Again, thank you for joining me. 420, we'll open a big fat bag of cannabis news. And we got stuff to talk about. We got rats. They're getting into cannabis again in New Orleans. I mean, those sneaky rats, man. I almost feel like they got some sort of inner code. You know, where we going next, says the lead rat. So we'll talk about it. We got Oregon in the news. Minnesota all full of stuff we can talk about. And my brain's been scrambling lately, and we're going to talk about it. Two things that are caught up in my craw. We'll talk about it at 420. One being spray packs. I didn't even know that was real. I didn't even know what that meant, but now I do. It's somebody taking a squirty terp bottle, spraying cannabis for flavor. That don't sound right. And then this whole THCA thing. Because if it is what I'm beginning to think it is the biggest flim-flam skim scam that some genius came up with that somehow just floored over every smart guy in the government. Because at this juncture, I feel like THCA is just regular cannabis that hasn't been lit yet or subject to any heat. So I feel like they're slipping it right. I mean, I could be wrong, and we'll talk about it, but I feel like THCA is just a new way for saying cannabis that's real, mail it to me. I'll put the heat. You just send me the THCA, bruh, and I'll handle the THC part on my own. I'll just put a little heat on it, bingo, bango. So I don't know. Because that can't be right. But the more I look into it, I think it's like a big... Like I feel like somebody worked some magic and convinced, I guess, everybody's idiots. Anyway, let's get into some tunes. This is Phony Calls, Weird Al, 95.9. Oh, yeah, that's how you start it right here. Phony calls, Weird Al Yankovic on KRFF 95.9. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That is who you listening to. That's the voice. The voice is Wilson. The content, the subject matter is cannabis. And we're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news at 4:20. Programming on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo has been underwritten by Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5, Sundays, noon to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. All right. Well, we're going to talk about a little something. We got time. I don't know really what, I'm just going to pick on something here. You know what I mean? Let's talk about this guy for fun. This is from High Times. Smoker. And they're like, well, why did you put a title on him like that? Well, because he was smoking. So, go get the smoker. It's kind of, you can't say, I don't know that he's smoking. Go get the I don't know what he's doing. No, he's smoking. All right. So Brandon Craig was sentenced to a total of 42 months in prison for his role in January 6, 2021 riot in Washington, D.C. Now, if just smoking up, that just, I don't know. Let's just get into this story. A man who stormed the Capitol. He smoked cannabis on top of broken furniture. I feel like if he would have broke the furniture, how dare you? 3 years for you. But anyway, he got 3.5 years in prison on Thursday. The DOJ issued a press release, and they said was sentenced an additional 5 months for contempt of court. In total, 42 months. Let's see if I can find out here. He goes, I have no regrets. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't break anything. I did trespass, though. But again, trespassing, you did like the holy grail of trespassing. You didn't just jump over the fence at the train yard. You weren't found in a parking garage after 11. Okay? You were in the Capitol building, jumping up and down on broken furniture, smoking the devil's lettuce. Now, I don't know if that equals 3.5 years, but when you put the bar of trespassing to the White House, or even just loitering, you're doing some after school smoking behind the dumpster, but it's the Oval Office that you penetrated through a window or something, man, you rewriting the rules, bruh. You don't know what you're gonna get then. You see what I'm saying? You don't know what you're gonna get. So, fellows, he posted on a social media. He says, brought my heart joy to see these members terrified for their lives, for what they've done and what they're doing to this country. I hope they live in constant fear. Well, that guy doesn't sound like a guy I really want in my town free. But just think about how many people feel that way, though. There's got to be a knucklehead with this opinion at least 600 feet from me, maybe. I'll even spread it out and go 2 miles. But anyway, we're talking about this guy who essentially trespassed on the White House, into the White House, burned some cheech, which I'm thinking is illegal anyway in Washington, D.C. So he was convicted of obstruction. Now, this is crazy list. So he got obstruction of official proceeding, a felony, a misdemeanor offense of entering and remaining in a restricted building, and apparently he heckled the cops inside. Apparently you can't do that. That gave him an extra 6 months, I heard. I got no idea. I'm just playing around. But, fellows, he made and wore a fake beard out of red yarn and a hat in the shape of a knight's helmet, sunglasses, and carried a Trump 2020 flag and a trash can lid that he said he used as a shield, which didn't seem to work, apparently. And so anyway, he followed the crowd. He fought his way to the Upper West. He quotes, "Oh, bro, we're going to get gas soon." So, he's like with it. So he was in a private office. He walked in there and there was just a whole bunch of people lighting up in some Oregon room. They were smoking a bunch of cannabis in there. So, Fellows was photographed smoking it in the office with his feet on the desk. So, man, that ain't great. That ain't great. And I wish that guy the best. I don't know how he's going to be treated on the inside. But I don't know. We're going to go to a musical break now, and then when we get back, we're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news. I got brand new Herbie Hancock. Super stoked to bring this to you, even though it says 1994, so maybe this isn't new Herbie Hancock, but he does have new stuff. 95.9, Herbie Hancock. Here, ladies and gentlemen, Herbie Hancock. Mojuba for those ears. Mojuba for these ears. KRFF 95.9 Radio Free Fargo.org. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. Canna-Talk is what I do. Cannabis is the subject matter, and we've got stuff to talk about in mere seconds. So do whatever you got to do to get ready. Tell your boss it's time you take a break. And I know what that implies. I meant to listen to this show. Not to make a pop can behind the dumpster. Get your life together, Mr. Gerbert. Anyway, I ain't got time for that. We're going to talk about THCA, and is that the biggest scam in the world? And by scam, I don't mean to you, but have they figured out how to sell and mail all over the U.S. actual cannabis under the moniker of THCA? Because without heat, every last bit, even if you're sitting there with some illicit grass in your hand, that's technically THCA until you stick it in something and you heat it. So what's the difference? So it's flipping me out because it seems to me like somebody slipped put the wool over everybody's eyes. So anyway, we'll talk about it. Let's fire up the intro thing. You know how we do. So anyway, I'm ready. You ready? Let's go!
Hey, it's Phil from Canna-Heads. Like this episode? Hit that like button. And if you enjoy the show, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on cannabis news, local and national. Listen live on 95.9 in the Fargo, North Dakota region from 4 to 5 p.m. on Thursday. For our non-Fargo region friends, you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Now enjoy the show.
Okay, everybody, let's do it, huh? Let's do it. It's 4:20-ish. I've opened the bag of cannabis news. I have. I think I opened it before the intro. So welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful day. Hopefully it is where you're at. If not, it's all your mind, man. Get sunny in your mind. But anyway, we got some cannabis news here. And so anyway, we're going to be covering THCA flower. And is it just really real cannabis without heat? I mean, is it as simple as that? Because I don't smoke. So I have no idea. I've never tested it. And I mean, I just don't hang out with you flower heads. You know? Because I mean, this is too stinky for me. But I mean, could it be so simple as them testing it? Now, again, apparently THCA, and they're going into Minnesota now and they're testing it. We'll talk about that in a second. And stuff that's gotten a little hot, something that's had some oxygen removed, that can start to decarboxylate. It can start to turn that THCA, that A starts to fall off. That A will fall off with heat. But sometimes just underneath those lamps at, those hemp stores. So they're going in and testing, and they can find, if it's real. And so maybe they'll start coming along with heat. Feel me? They take one of those little heat guns and bzzz, and then it'll be like, well, with heat, this is actually 15% THC because I knock the A off with this little heat gun. So is the government and everybody really confused that THCA flower from hemp is just basically a scam to make you think there's no THC in a THCA flower when all flower is THCA without heat? I mean, I know that, but I didn't know that everybody selling THCA flower is just basically selling street weed with its non-combustible component highlighted. You're just highlighting what it is before the lighter hits it. But everybody knows that it's nothing until you heat it, right? But it doesn't look like it. I mean, like there's like just a recent big name coming out with all his flavors, right? Except this is just THCA. I mean, it's different than the other, but it's exactly the same. It just hasn't been hit with heat. Crazy, right? That is nuts that there's that going on. And I'm probably behind the curve with this. And everybody probably knows that you could get regular cannabis in any state as long as it's THCA. You put it in your pipe, gurgly. Guess what falls off of your recently purchased THCA? The A. You can make the A fall off by naturally utilizing it. And if it's as simple as that, that's crazy. And if that is the case, I mean, I hope I'm not opening Pandora's box. It's a quick Google. But, so basically I read this. In a sense, THCA flower isn't anything new. Traditional cannabis bud could also be considered high THCA in its raw form. THCA in its raw form contains potentially inactive compounds that are very unlikely to get you high. Only when you expose it to heat can it produce the desired effect. It's called decarboxylation. Everybody knows it with edibles, but apparently the DEA is, as dumb as I thought it was. I was as dumb as EA is. But anyway, let's move on. But isn't that crazy? That's crazy. So I got another kind of fun local story that I got turned on to, and it's kind of interesting. It's from it's an article written from a Gwinner City meeting, which kind of perked up right away because I mean, you know what's going on, and this is kind of a chuckle because basically it was a town hall meeting, and so the cops were up first, and they said it was an average month. You know, on 4th Avenue they had some barking dogs, which is getting to be a concern since it happens often. I mean, come on. I mean, if a cop's day only involves barking dog nuisances, I feel like this guy. Oh, and there were 5 domestic calls. All right. So barking dogs, we got some domestics. Just an average month, he says. But it was brought up that in Ransom County, there was an occurrence of cannabis being laced with fentanyl. Oh, you're just going to throw that, you're going to throw that in there with the barking dogs? I mean, I feel like it's kind of significant. However, I found more, but it's more about this story. There was an occurrence. It was laced with fentanyl. It is in the area, right? So, I mean, and I found out a little more information. It might not necessarily be true, but it could be. Signs of an opioid overdose are the person can't stay awake. Slow overdose are the person can't stay awake. Slower no pulse. This is where you need a kit. If you use or know someone that does, make them aware of this in the area. All right. However, word on the streets, and this isn't confirmable as fact, but this is just a fun show, and so it's kind of interesting that the Gwinner meeting, they have Mr. Officer come up. He goes, that's kind of it's a regular, month. We got some barking dogs. We got some man beating her women. Oh, yeah. We got a bunch of laced fentanyl cannabis show up. Okay, that'll be all from us. If we could have public health come up. What? Wait a minute. Let's go back to that. And it was so just kind of hazardly kind of thrown out there because they wanted you just to hear the one part. It's there. It's happening. Freak out, but not really. Let's go back to the barking dogs. So word on the streets, it wasn't actually fentanyl. Apparently what happened, and this is based on a nurse in a small county. So again, this ain't fact. But if it was true, the story is some guy crushed up an X pill and put it in it and had a bad reaction. They tested it. It had MDA and amphetamine, which, now that I've given my life to God, I'm not worried about rolling my MDA and being concerned. However, I liked ecstasy for its kind of high speed content. So it's certainly no surprise to me that an X pill was cut with meth. And I'm not so sure fentanyl, which makes you drool in your soup, is exactly the energy that little, unicorn goat boot chick is looking for to get her till 6 a.m. with a little ow. Meth seems to go with that a little better. Just makes a little more sense. However, he certainly didn't want to say, I'm the reason for the reason I'm here. I decided to put some extra stuff on my stuff. If you went like, it's probably fentanyl, well, that gets that guy out of a lot of trouble. Who knows? He's probably the center basketball player. They don't need any of that trouble in Gwinner. Feel me? But that's interesting. So be careful of, watch out for barking dogs and fentanyl-laced cannabis in Gwinner. You heard it here first. I'm just here trying to save y'all. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday I get in here. That was kind of fun. Let's talk about rats eating cannabis. This is from Cannabis Moment. Rats are eating our cannabis, says the police superintendent. And he also had to add that they're all high, which begs a few questions. How do you know? What are they doing? Are they dancing? What's up with them? Are they harassing barking dogs? You come out, they got barking dogs all duct taped up. These rats are like, we can't handle it anymore, man. I don't know, but we'll talk about it. New Orleans City Council hearing on Monday about the Story State. Now check this out. I mean, I don't even know why. Okay. Apparently, the police headquarters in New Orleans, it's a sorry state of affairs, faces issues with plumbing, mold, and infestations, among other problems. Police Department Kirkpatrick said that rodents are now munching on the drugs in the department's evidence room and ostensibly getting high. Now, again, we just talked about THCA. You can eat all the cannabis you want unless you got really hot breath and before it hits your throat, you've heated it up. No, that might be it. They might be, the little rat's mouths hot. Because I don't know the rule for when the A drops off at THC. But I do know that how do they be knowing that they're all high? Again, it's in quotes. It was first reported in NOLA.com, was among a laundry list of housekeeping items she flagged for city leaders. Man, apparently it's not just at the cop shop, it's at all the districts. The uncleanliness is off the charts. Well, it wasn't clear what kind of cannabis products the rats are eating. It's unlikely that the unprocessed cannabis would get them stoned, while research has indicated that rats respond to cannabis smoke and vapor very much like humans do. Raw cannabis contains hardly any active THC. Instead, here we go. It contains THCA, which must undergo a process known as decarbing to become psychoactive. So when you see THCA in the stores that aren't supposed to have actual cannabis, it is. That little sucker just waiting for some little heat. So, apparently it's not likely stoned rats are any more dangerous than sober ones, though, research suggests. Because, you need to do some intensive research to find this out. They're high, are they? How high are the rats? And where are they? Where are they at now? City Hall? So, apparently they found rat droppings on workers' desks. What kind of place is this? Is that when we say we value our employees, you can't say that and at the same time allow people to work in conditions that are not acceptable. Apparently morale among police is already low, and let me just side note this. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but Pittsburgh cops are shutting down at 3 a.m. from now on. They ain't working at night. They ain't got time for that. You know what? Nighttime's for sleeping. Feel me? Cops ain't busy. They want to sleep. They don't want to be out there copping. Cops out copping when they can be nodding. All right? And I don't know if you've ever been to Kensington Avenue in Pennsylvania, but man, it doesn't seem like the place that you would not want your cops working after 3. But yeah, it's a test pilot thing. They need probably 1,000 more cops, and so they're like, well, forget it. So they're not answering calls after 3 a.m. in Pittsburgh. Google it, bruh. It's crazy. Who needs cops between 3 and 7 anyway? It's not like anything, it's not like anything requiring cops would happen after 3. However, they certainly call 3 witching hour, which is like for us as as a rabble-rousing teen into young adulthood, witching hour meant when you could drive home loaded and there'd be less cops on the road because of shift change. That's what we call the witching hour. If you hung out at an after party, you had to stay, you couldn't leave until 3 a.m. I don't know if it's a wives' tale. I certainly did it. I can't honestly say I gotten busted after 3 a.m., but I've been busted. So I don't know. So officials are working to rent space in another building to move the headquarters. So that's crazy. So anyway, that's the story of rats on a plane. So here's kind of a fun one here. This is also from High Times. Oregon cannabis grower dies after nurse allegedly replaces his fentanyl IV with tap water. Now, do they look the same? I mean, does Dasani always get swapped out for fentanyl? I mean, oofta. So they're being sued for millions of dollars. Alleged the nurse may have caused dangerous blood infection. Apparently, she's done it to other people. One resulted in dying. Horace Wilson, no relationship to me, known to his family and friends as Bud. Oh, he's the guy that died. That's probably a cousin. I want reparation. He fell off a ladder, ruptured his spleen. He underwent several surgeries. He got sepsis. At the time of the death, they passed it off as basic incompetence. Apparently, it was by siphoning fentanyl out of IV bags and replacing it with tap water. Oh, well, that's going to cause all kinds of problems. I hope they get that, lady. Let's keep moving. Let's look at some Minnesota stuff here. Oh, let me talk about this really fast. Why do kids like spray packs? Like, I got no idea. If you didn't have to smoke them, I've seen some very appealing spray packs. Sometimes they smell so good, I would legit try the terp juice, and I'm reading from this guy, itself for the flavor if it was made available to me. So, first remember that many young adults grew up smoking USB sticks that taste like cotton candy. So many didn't smoke cigarettes, and their first experience even with cannabis was a vape. The common misconception is people are assuming all these spray packs are trashy cannabis that wouldn't sell on their own, but it's not necessarily the case. But you're spraying funky stuff on my stuff, and I didn't know that was happening. So this is just a heading here. Giving away free cannabis could help curb the drug overdose crisis, new studies suggest. However, I've heard people, homeless cats actually just refusing cannabis, so I don't know, but I know that if I was going to make poor decisions and I would use my last $20 for, a quarter gram of meth, usually because I didn't have any cannabis to make me sleepy, tired, and satisfied, and I would do that instead, it would definitely change my course of the evening for the better. So what do we got here? Minnesota regulators launch effort to catch retailers selling illegal cannabis as hemp flower. See, here we go. It's been an open question until now whether registered retailers are selling raw cannabis flower that crosses the line. Cannabis use is legal, but legal sales haven't started yet. Okay, because of the gap, no state regulator has either the legal authority or the inspectors to sample the flower being sold to check. That is, the flower being sold in some stores is illegal or illegal. Does it contain more of the 0.3% Delta-9, the intoxicating compound in cannabis? See, but the thing is there's intoxicating compound in all the cannabis once you eat it, unless it's CBD. And and again, I'm not smart enough to figure this out. Turns out it does. The sample purchased from a registered hemp store tested at levels that are illegal under the law. Okay, the lab reported the flower showed a potency of 1.1% Delta-9, 3 times the limit. But again, that was probably just heat or the lamp in the store. Total THC is a measure of all different types of THC in the flower, and 29.9% is similar to the types of flower sold in legal rec states. So the retail sample tested is actually more potent than a cannabis sample. All right. If they'd rather be sold on the street, well, people are putting fentanyl in it. Does that make sense? They, of course. I've talked to a lot of police, and they say they'd rather you sell it in stores than it be sold out in the street. So I'm here to work with the state, he says. I told them the day they wanted us to stop selling what we're selling, all they have to do is pick up the phone and say we don't want you to sell it. 𝒯𝐻𝒞𝒜 makes other products that are hemp-derived beverages, whatever. So there's new enforcement starting Thursday. They have begun regulating the sale of raw cannabis flower. So I don't know what that means, but apparently they'll begin to examine any flower products being sold during their regular inspections to determine whether they are indeed hemp flower or cannabis flower. But see, that's what starts to, I mean, you hear them say it back to you, is that raw flower doesn't have nothing in it. I mean, and so I'm assuming that they test the percentage of cannabis. Let's say they say this orange monkey butt is 23%. They must test it after it's heated. Like, how do they know? Because if they do know, well, then all this THCA with heat stuff is just a lark. So I don't know. Because, again, I don't smoke, so I don't have, like, any proof of, like, this is THCA, and I can assure you this happens, you know? So, let's see what we got here, people. Again, you've been listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday I get in here, 4 o'clock. Oh, I get in here, I guess. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's been happening all hour. This is from South Dakota Public Radio. Bill requiring notification about medical cannabis enrollment signed into law. So I'm not so sure about this. I don't know if it matters. You know, it seems like they're just wasting paper. Governor Christie Don't Know has signed a bill requiring patients enrolled in a medical program to notify their primary care provider. Now, I would argue whoever's like signing you, like whoever's handling your medical program is your primary care provider. I don't have a primary care provider. I don't even have insurance. I just go downtown and say, hey, it hurts. And then I just. So anyway, Senate bill passed both the House and floors with overwhelming support. It clarifies action of a practitioner who certifies a patient that it is not the patient's primary provider. To me, it's all semantics. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. So, Minnesota cracking down on illegal cannabis sales before adult use is back. I'm back to talk about it a little bit. See, it's a temporary issue that will no longer exist once businesses are licensed to sell cannabis flower. I don't know. So, products for sale without a lab testing certificate will constitute an illegal sale. So, and you could risk getting $1 million fine if they find out you got. So again, I'm more confused than anything. So who's the smart one on this side? Is the government? Because they're usually behind for sure. But is it really that simple? I mean, are people flooding the market in illegal states with legal monikered cannabis that's just the same as street cannabis without a lighter put to it? It just seems like, I mean, now I can believe it a little bit because I seen what Minnesota and those sleepy legislators, they didn't read the bill. They had no idea what they were reading. So that Farm Hemp Act, that 2018 hemp bill, I think they created it to help them. But the loopholes were so big that I feel like it was like a waste. So it's kind of hilarious to me. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of funny. But Biden tells supporters he's taking care of cannabis reform at campaign stops. We'll see about that, huh? I'm just reading stuff now before we wrap this thing up. That's kind of interesting. Indiana is passing kind of legislation for mushrooms. And I'm like, man, Indiana lawmakers send psilocybin research funding bill to governor. And then here we got, where are we at? Utah unanimously approves bill to allow mushrooms and MDMA treatment at hospitals, singing into the governor. And cannabis is kind of stalled up, but these trippy drugs, man, they're moving. And I mean, I can't say I blame them, you know, because it's not horrible. Well, I think we've come to a close here. I hope you've enjoyed another rabble-rousing rendition of Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I was glad to be your host today. I'll be back next Thursday shouting the words of Sir Isaac Thomas when he said, "Bring me your bags." No. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'll be back in next Thursday, probably. However, I might get caught up in a whole THCA debacle and be, scared to come out of my closet. Programming on KRFF FM Radio Free Fargo 95.9 FM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Lutherie. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, Paul Reed Smith guitars, and other brands. They sell guitars on consignment. They take trade-ins and have a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar and Lutherie on Facebook or visit them in person on 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5, closed on the Lord's Day. Well, let's get us into some tunes, and then I'll tuck you guys in, tuck in my babies. And then it's Stinky Arts Music Mart mixtape Artemis Blood Train. Wraps up your Thursday. Man, this kind of just showed up in an email, and I've always liked slide stuff. I played this a few weeks ago. I'm going to play it again because I dig it. Here's Cosmic Cruiser, Geiger von Muller. Oh yeah, Cosmic Cruiser by your own Geiger von Muller here on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo, RadioFreeFargo.org. We're streaming everywhere and anywhere on this blue and green marble. If you got an ear hole, we can get in audibly with our stuff, with our content, every day of the week. The best independent radio station as far as I'm concerned. This show here, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, was brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. Black Cottage Alchemy, 1,200 mgs of locally grown CBD hemp, whipped up in some other viscosity for your outer body. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit. I show him props every Sunday. Antioch Church, 417 Main Avenue, 10 a.m. Recovery. Maybe discover that you need to recover. Worship at 11. Educate yourselves on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. I'm going to scurry out of here like a rat on grass. I'll be back next Thursday. Again, after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. You all be good to yourselves. Love one another. Smile on your brother. Get together right now. All right. So, that's enough words of wisdom from Wilson. Peace out. Judgment Day. David Allen. Peace.